All right, third and fourth graders, this week we are going to be doing a line pattern landscape. So you can decide on this one. You're going to watch this video once without doing anything, and then you can decide if you want to make up your own landscape or if you want to follow my instructions. So you can decide then if you want to do shower or bathtub with your paper. I'm going to do shower. The focus on this is using lines, and we're going to use patterns also, but we want to focus on foreground, middle ground, and background. So when we're talking about foreground, that means everything in your picture that is going to be closest to you or closest to the bottom of your paper. The middle ground is what we're going to see in the middle, and the background is going to be way in the back, and that would be, your sky, and anything way far in the background. So when we draw this, we want to start in our foreground. So I'm going to start at the bottom of my paper. And what I'm going to do down here is I'm just going to draw some little lines that might resemble rocks. So I can put them side by side. I don't want to do anything too tiny because then you're not going to be able to fit patterns inside of it, and then it's just going to take you a really long time too. So I'm doing them all a little bit different, but I'm staying towards the bottom of my paper. All right, so I have some rocks right here in my foreground. I'm going to add some grass next. So what I want to do for that is I'm going to create these shapes. I'm just going to create some tall triangle-like shapes that might resemble grass. And I might do a couple here, maybe add another rock here, and then do some more grass. But I'm making sure that these are all shapes, so I'm closing them in on the bottom. Some might be really tall, some shorter, some wider, some thinner. Can add another little rock here, some more grass. So I have some rocks. This space here is just going to be some dirt. And then I'm going to add a pond here. So I'm going to make a large line for my pond. Okay? So that's going to be a pond. On the other side of my pond, I'm starting to move into my middle ground here. And as we move into the background, we want to make our objects a little bit smaller. Okay, so if I did rocks on this side of my pond, they're going to be smaller than the ones on this side because we want to make them look like they're moving further into the distance. I'm going to do some more grass here, but it's going to be much smaller. I'm going to create a little space for some shoreline here. I'll have some smaller rocks in here, some grass. I want to make sure that my grass doesn't start leaning over either. I want to try and keep it vertical. Okay, so now I'm going to put some space for some hills back here. So I'm just going to make a nice hill there, a nice hill here, a nice hill here, and then as I continue to go back, I might put a little sunset here, so then I can have my rays coming out of it, but I want to make sure those are shapes and not just lines, because we're going to put patterns inside of all of these shapes. And then I might add a cloud up here in the sky, maybe one coming off over here, maybe one coming off the side here. Okay, so when you're done with this, you're going to want to trace everything in black marker or Sharpie. I already drew it in marker, so I'm not going to make you watch me do that. So the next step is adding color. We are going to use markers to do that. And when you're tracing, make sure you fill in all of those holes if you left any. And we are going to use marker, but instead of just coloring, I want you to use lines to add the color in. So, if I'm going to start with these rocks, I can choose, you can choose whatever color you want. I'm going to start with gray, and I'm just going to choose a pattern to use to fill it in, and only lines, so we're not going to do any coloring. So for these rocks, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw stripes. And I'm going to do that for all of my rocks because I want to let whoever's looking at my art know that these are the same objects. So I'm going to use the same color, the same pattern for each rock. Okay, so then I had some mud in this area. I can stay true to color, or I can make it a little bit of a brighter color. So if I wanted to use a yellow or a purple or an orange, I could do that. I am going to use brown though for this part. And I'm going to, instead of doing lines, I'm going to do dots. So for this whole area here, I'm going to make dots. And I'm trying to space them out about the same all the way throughout. So I'm not just doing a bunch of dots everywhere. I'm being very intentional with where I place my dots, how far apart they are. I'm kind of going in a diagonal line with my dots. I want it to be pretty equal all the way through. I do not want you to just go and do this all over if you decide to do dots. We want to keep it nice and clean. And I'll continue doing that all the way over. And for my grass, I'm going to choose another kind of pattern. So maybe for this, I do some wavy lines. And here, you don't have to do them all necessarily the same color, but I would probably choose another kind of green to go along with it instead of a completely different color. So I have kind of a bluish green there, and I might choose to do like a light green or lime green color, yellow green, or dark green, the rest of it. You're only using lines for all of the coloring here. So then I'm going to move on to my pond. And for my pond, I'm just going to make a giant just like that. So then I have some more beach there. I can do polka dots kind of like I did here if I wanted to, right along through there to kind of show that it's kind of like the same. Like I have beach here and then I'm going to have more beach over there. So I can do more dots. Or you could do something totally different also. And I would fill up all of that space here. And then I would do the rocks and the grass, and then as I move into the hills, I would do another kind of pattern. So I could do kind of like a bumpy line all the way over the top of that. And I might choose a completely different color to do the hill behind it. And I can do a completely different pattern here too. Oh wait, that's a sun. Anyway, I would probably do a yellow there. I thought it was one of my yellows. They look just like it. But if you wanted to do something that kind of crisscrossed, you could do that also. But I would probably normally make that yellow or orange. You get the idea though. But you're going to fill up your entire paper then using those patterns. Alright, there should be zero coloring and only lines and lots of different kinds of lines. And like I said, you don't have to make your landscape look like this. You can do one totally different, but I need to see that there's a foreground, a middle ground, and a background. And so you can do mountains and trees, you can do a river, but you want to see something in the foreground, middle ground, and background. And then you can use all kinds of different colors. If you want your sun to be purple, you can have a purple sun. If you want your hills to be orange, they can be orange. If you want your rocks to be blue, they can be blue. You can do whatever colors you want on this.